be like on other planets made by, well, me. Okay, let's just continue. Excuse me. Sorry guys. In Mercury's perspective, the sun will be really massive because of course it's the first planet from the sun. The surface would be rocky like the moon, where there will be a slight curve when you look at its horizon, but the curve is going to be a bit curvier than on Earth. The temperature depends on the time of the day, like if it was the day it would be scorching hot, like reaching 430 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, nighttime it would reach minus 180 degrees Celsius. If you looked up in the night sky, and you might see Venus and even Earth or Mars and Jupiter, maybe even Saturn, or you might see all the planets except Uranus and Neptune. And it might be a bit dimmer because the sun will interrupt the vision. Mercury has no atmosphere so the sky will be in dark, even if the day. If you try to scream, then no one would hear you scream. Sad. Venus is the second planet from the sun, so it's going to be too hot, number one, because it's the second planet, and of course the second reason is because clouds make a greenhouse which forms heat waves and makes it hot, really hot. So you would already die. But let's say you have a protection-free Minecraft netherite armor, and you would see that the surface is a bit cursed because you didn't expect it to look like what it was supposed to be. In Venus you could see Earth, Jupiter and Saturn. Well, if you thought you couldn't see anything because of the clouds. It sucks to be in Venus because it's very hot. In Venus you would feel a lot of pressure because Venus pressure is 90 times as much of Earth. So if you are 3,000 feet under the water, then that's how much pressure you would feel. Outside it's like a really bright yellow peach shade, but in the inside it's orange. So then you'll see a bunch of volcanoes, and when it rains, instead it's acid rain. Sorry guys, it's raining. Mars is the fourth planet from the sun, and it's the first planet we'll see with moons if you landed in Mars surface. If you landed in Mars. If you landed in Mars surface, then you can see Earth and Mars and moons. The surface would be reddish brown, and there would be some black areas. If you walked all around Mars, then you can see some rovers. These would help you find more about Mars. Walking around the Mars would be painful, so if you would need some shoes. Also, you could see Mars if you walked a lot. In Mars, it could be a bit colder than on Earth, and you can see Jupiter more efficiently. Many times you could see asteroids because Mars is affecting the asteroid belt. The sky would be very red. Now onto the bigger planets. If you lived on Jupiter, then you would end up living on the core. Little cut, guys. Now onto the bigger planets. If you lived on Jupiter, then you would end up living on the core, and you would die due to the thunderstorm. The wind, dust, and the wind due to the wind, dust, and what? But let's say you have a super costume. You could barely see anything and fly because of the gas. There is liquid, but I made you fly. Why did you do this? Sadly, you could never see the moons. By 430 miles down, the pressure is 1,150 times higher. You might survive down here if you went to this bait raft built like terrestrial submarine, the deepest diving submarine on Earth. Living on the surface of Jupiter itself would be difficult, but maybe not impossible. The gas giant has a small rocky core with a mass 10 times less than Earth, but it's surrounded by a dense liquid of hydrogen extending out to 90% of Jupiter's diameter. You could also see numerous cracks that crisscross the globe. There's no oxygen on Jupiter like there's on Earth. The plants on Earth have made the oxygen that we breathe. Saturn. Without a solid surface, Saturn isn't likely a place that we could ever live. But the gas giant does have numerous moons, some of which could make fascinating locations for the space colonies, particularly Titan and Enceladus. You can't stand on Saturn. It's not a nice, solid, rocky planet with Earth. Rather, it's made mostly of gases. With these wind speeds, even if there was oxygen in Saturn's atmosphere, you still wouldn't be able to breathe because the air would be sucked from your lungs. As you fall deeper, temperature and pressure will rise, but you won't feel anything because the pressure killed you less than 1 second after arriving on the planet. Saturn is another work of the universal art. On top of the toxic gas, the extreme temperatures on both planets would contribute to nearly instant death. The sad things are the fact that you can see marvelous rings and multiple moons. So now Saturn would be real sad because it's not what you expected. Sorry, my phone died. Uranus. You can imagine what perfect place inside Uranus when the temperatures could support life. There's no process inside Uranus like volcanism on Earth that would give life inside a planet a form of energy. Life on Uranus would have to be vastly different from anything we have on Earth. To be able to survive, Uranus's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. I'm sorry, I'm making so much mistakes. I'm so sorry, guys. Uranus's environment is not conducive to life as we know. The temperatures, pressures, and materials that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. You can imagine some perfect place inside Uranus where the temperature could support life. The problem is that the pressures inside Uranus are enormous and that those temperatures would crush life. The other problem is that life on Earth requires sunlight to provide energy. There's no process inside Uranus, like volcanism on Earth, that could give us life inside the planet a form of energy. Neptune. Neptune, like the other gas giants in our solar system, doesn't have much of a solid surface to live on. At its surface, the temperature of the Neptune dips down to 55 Kelvin. That's very cold, and there's no way liquid water could exist. Right now, scientists don't know if there's any life on Neptune, and the conditions for this planet seem very hostile for life. It's unlikely we'll never see anything there. Finally, living on Neptune will require advanced water technology system. Frigid temperatures and sparse sun energy means most substances, including water, are frozen. Now, it's believed that the liquid water may exist far below Neptune's surface. However, the likely deadly pressures are well worth avoiding. If you lived on Pluto, you would have to live 248 Earth years to celebrate your first birthday in Pluto years. If you lived on Pluto, you would see Chiron from only one side of the planet. Chiron's orbit around Pluto takes about 6.5 Earth days, but without the following, no humans or human colony can exist on Pluto or any of the moons of Pluto. Sealed environment with a temperature range of 10 to 40 degrees Celsius. That's what we need. Sun. Don't even think about it.